All right, buddy. So Chicago Bears.
Okay.
Uh, Mitch Trubisky. He's not going to be the starter this year. But why don't you just talk about Mitch Trubisky, and then I'll go on my little rant, and then we can get on with the rest of the segment.
Well, I don't think he's that good, to be honest. I never thought he was that good. And I don't think he has what it takes. And the reason I say that is because we've seen him for how many years now? Three?
Yeah. Yeah.
Three? Okay. So the way the league is these days, and correct me if you think otherwise, is that you can kind of, a quarterback can have immediate success. You can see, like, okay, damn, that guy, once he polishes himself up, like, this guy's going to be fierce, right? And it doesn't
Yeah.
take long anymore. It just doesn't. So I think we've seen what Mitch Trubisky is, and it ain't that great.
Yeah.
And that's the end of my thoughts.
Yeah, I hear you. So Chicago Bears last year, they're actually an 8-8 team. Interestingly enough, they're one of those kind of records that surprises me. They actually started last year. I can't believe this. They started 3-1, which to me defies logic. But they ended up eking out 3 wins, and then they lost. Then they lost a lot. But 500 team, not bad. Mitch Trubisky, again, kind of interestingly enough, 8-7 last year as a quarterback. But the big difference for the Chicago Bears team, as I was telling, I live in the Chicago area, and some of my in-laws, of course, they're big Chicago, they're lifelong Chicagoans, so they're big Chicago Bears fans. And I told them going into last season, I said, look, you can't lose the heart and soul of your defense, and it's not Khalil Mack, it's Fangio, your defensive coordinator. You can't lose him and not expect any drop off. Secondly, we talked about this with the New England Patriots a couple of weeks ago. When you have one of those all-time defenses, as the Chicago Bears did in 2018, it's hard to keep that defense up. Like we've seen the Ravens do it for a stretch. A decade ago, we saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2 decades ago do it.
Yep.
It's hard to do. Okay, so you lose your defensive coordinator, you lose some continuity, you lose a piece here, a piece there. New defensive coordinator comes in, starts kind of installing some of his own concepts. Look, they're a good defense last year. They're a great defense last year, but they weren't the absolute unquestioned NFL dominant defense they were 2 years ago, and they needed that to make the
Yeah. two
playoffs
years
again.
ago, wasn't 2 years ago the year that Mac just
Yeah,
like
just went crazy.
every single game he like dictated
He's
it
in the
in some
backfield. He's in the backfield
he was
every
in the
snap.
backfield picking up fumbles, causing, creating turnovers. Yeah, he was that guy. And we didn't see that last year, right? Was
No,
he injured or what
no, no,
what
no. He
happened?
was there. I think it's a combination of different concepts. Now he's again. We're splitting hairs here because he's a great player regardless. But it's just different. You have a different defensive head, different defensive mind coming in there, thinking up ways. This guy's dreaming up ways to put Khalil Mack in space. And no disrespect to their new Chuck Pagano, the newer defensive coordinator there. He's a very good defensive coordinator. They run very similar systems, but it's just not the same, man. You can't go from Bill Belichick to Jeff McDaniels' New England in a few years and expect no drop off. It's just
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
happen. There's a different level of coaching there, and Fangio has been great everywhere. And so, like, as I was telling again these Chicago Bears fans, is like, look, you're going to need Mitch Trubisky to step up in a big way this year. NFL teams, it was Matt Nagy is coming to his second season there. They have a full offseason of tape. They have a full offseason of tape on Khalil Mack in the system. They know what Pagano is going to want to do. Look, man, this is going to be it's not. You can't just chalk up 9 wins. That's not the way this NFL works, especially in this
Sure.
division with Green Bay and Minnesota. And
Right.
so, like, I wasn't surprised by Chicago, but Trubisky was holding them back. And I think that's pretty clear. And they're trying to make him a passer. And if you look at his stats, Brad, this is kind of funny too. If you look at his passing stats, he's a 63% passer. So you look at that and think, well, okay, Aaron Rodgers is only 62% passer, but his yardage, Brad,
Yeah.
3,138.
Yeah, he's like Dak Prescott light,
Dak
right?
Prescott
Like
light.
as boring and like average and kind of mundane as we claim Dak Prescott to be, he's that, but even more so or
He's
less.
he's like a slightly more efficient to me Josh Allen, without Josh Allen's size and ability to run people over on the goal line. 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Look, that's just not going to get it done, and that's
Yeah,
why
that's not good.
no. And you're not going to win games like that, and that's why I was saying, even if the Chicago Bears defense was 90% of what they were in 2018, that's not going to be enough to get them into the playoffs, because I didn't believe that Trubisky is going to take the next step. And that's where I think the Chicago fans, at least locally, were arguing with me personally last year. So they thought Trubisky, second year in this offense, was going to take a step forward. I thought he was going to take a step back. 8-7. He did still have a winning record though, which again, I look at this and coming into this, I would have thought the Bears were 7-9 and he would have been under 500. But he was 8-7. Chase Daniel lost a game, but 17 touchdowns in today's NFL, man. Come on, man. One touchdown pass a game, not going to get it done. Just not good enough, and that's the key here. I really don't think there's anything else to say. Now, the difference that we're going to get this year in 2020, Nick Foles is, I'd say 90 to 95% chance he's going to be the starter. I would be shocked if Foles plays poorly enough that Trubisky ends up unseating him as the starter. It is possible. There will be a training camp battle. But Nick Foles coming in here, man, he's got that mojo. He's almost got like that Ryan Fitzpatrick mojo. I was just gonna
say he's not the best guy ever, but he could come in and throw for 5 touchdowns and create some type of energy. Him and Fitzpatrick, they both can come in and create an energy of airing it out, man, and having fun out there, and guys streaking down for an 80-yard bomb, and they've done it, and it's like. It's not that he's better than Trubisky, but for some reason the momentum he brings is better.
Yeah,
right?
And I think it's I completely agree. So like I would say Foles is better than Fitzpatrick, but the reason, and I think you and I agree here, the reason I liken those two together is you look at these quarterbacks, right? And if Foles laid an egg in that Super Bowl, or if he didn't ever get in the game and Wentz, played that Super Bowl, we'd be looking at this, be like, Nick Foles, so Foles is bringing some cachet because of that game he had, right? And that run that he had with the Eagles. But you look at him, I mean, he was kind of a retread in this league for a while. So that's kind of the brain I'm putting on him from a bettering standpoint. But what Fitzpatrick, who we talked about with the Miami Dolphins a couple weeks ago, Fitzpatrick's basically a lifetime 8-8 quarterback. Not going to win you a ton of games, not going to lose you a ton of games, but he's going to keep you in the race. But what Fitzpatrick can do and what Nick Foles can do is maybe 2 to 3 times a season, like you said, Brad, he's going to put up 300 yards, 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, and he's going to win you a game because he is just laser dialed in. And that's something that Trubisky cannot do. So I look at this team, and I think your floor as Nick Foles is you're at Trubisky's level, right?
Yeah.
Let's say 12 games a year, you play Nick Foles, or you play like Mitch Trubisky-like numbers where you're pretty efficient. Maybe you turn the ball over a little bit more, but you also get more touchdowns, right? But then 3 to 4 weeks a season, you're going to get that 4 to 5 touchdown burst and be like, holy crap, he looks like a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yeah, right.
And is that enough to push them into the playoff conversation? An 8-8 team last year. I like this defense to rebound a little bit. Second year in this defensive system. I do like that, the transition years behind this defense. I don't think they're going to be like the 2018 Bears because I don't think any defense can really do that for a long time. But I think they'll be slightly improved. From a personnel standpoint, Brad, they did lose some pieces. They lose Clinton Dix, who you're familiar with from the time in Green Bay. They lose Leonard Floyd at linebacker. They lose Nick Williams. They do lose some pieces. Taylor Gabriel, in my opinion, is an underrated receiver. He's gone. They add Nick Foles. They add Robert Quinn from Dallas. They add Jimmy Graham, again, who you're familiar with, at tight end, as well as a kind of a rookie tight end. And they add Ted Ginn Jr., who's about 87 years old. I think he came to the league with Frank Gore. Not really, but he's old. This team what I'm trying to illustrate here is this team lost some pieces, but I think they're going to be more of the same. The big change here is Foles and how efficient he can be. So let me hit you with the over-under win total, Brad. The Chicago Bears, according to BetOnline, 8.5 wins. So they think that they're a half game better than last year. What do you think?
I would go under. That half a game causes me to go under. I think a safe bet is that they win 8, but probably win 7.
This one's super tough for me. Again, I said Green Bay on the over, but I wouldn't bet on it. Same here for Chicago. I think I'm on the under because of that half game, and I'm not going to bet on it because the Foles factor, man. I just don't know what we're going to get. I do think the defense is going to be better. Trubisky can't pass the ball downfield. He just doesn't have that ability. He'll throw it up to Allen Robinson, very talented wide receiver, but he's not creating stuff downfield. Foles brings a different element as a passer.
Yeah, I think Trubisky actually gets worse this year. I think there's more film on him.
Yeah.
I think that they're,
Yeah, I agree.
they know his tendencies. He's not going to get better at this point. Last year, I think, would have been the year where he ascended and peaked. And obviously it didn't happen. So that's the wrap on that.
Yeah, we saw them go on a run late in the year, and Trubisky for the first part of the year try. It was almost like you mentioned Dak Prescott, which is kind of funny because I think these are similar. Like Dak Prescott, it drives me crazy that he doesn't use his legs as much as I'd like him to, and that doesn't mean run. But like Russell Wilson, you'd think of him as a quarterback that uses his legs. He hasn't run in like 2 or 3 years, but he evades in the pocket. Patrick Mahomes isn't a runner, but he evades people in the pocket. Like Dak Prescott. I think he's limiting himself by not using his athleticism. I think Trubisky was doing that early in the year. He did get a little bit more slippery and run a little bit more and move the offense. And I think he had to do that. I think he recognized that, hey, I'm not good enough to be a pocket passer, and I'm not going to be. So, yeah, I'm on the under here, man. I think that I think this division is a little bit tough. Green Bay and Minnesota, not my favorite, right? So, anyway, we'll wrap that up.